Hey family, how you guys doing? Welcome to Phie.Love Intuitive Conversations. I hope you guys are good. Yeah. If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, if there's any negativity, if there's any hate, please do keep that on your side of the street, okay? Won't be acknowledged. So, family, in this video, I'm being guided by Spirit to have us maybe casually just think a little bit about us paying mind to where we find ourselves blindly recreating ways of being, blindly recreating off of old traditions and mindsets that have come from people before us, right? And that have also been offered to the human collective a very long time ago by the system. That has, and what has been offered to us by the system has also been tethered to the old traditionalist ways, which goes all the way back to our silent generation, right? Our silent generation are the ones who we call the traditionalists. And after them came the greatest generation, then came the baby boomers. And I think those three specifically were very much stuck in the traditionalist ways of our silent generation, right? It was when the baby boomers came around, the new wave of people. If you're not too clued up on things like spiritual DNA and how, in the higher realms, in the disembodied realms, these different waves and generations of people come through and are born through into this realm, and they happen because on a spiritual level, to our spiritual DNA, there are adjustments made to encourage change to encourage change and a movement in consciousness to what is actually existing within our physical realm. I hope I'm making sense and that we're still together. So we have these different waves of people who exist on different levels of consciousness that are born into the realm over specific periods of time, and this is what creates our different waves of generations that have different ways of being, different ways of processing this, their experience in this physical realm, engaging each other, able to connect with with innovations that are always of a higher spiritual nature, or that might benefit humanity in a way that maybe previous generations before were not completely able to perceive and comprehend. These spiritual DNA adjustments that happen, right, they encourage activations in the people who come through into the earth realm, right? Activations at certain times that assist in kind of loosening up the old way of thinking, an old way of being, an old consciousness that collectives of humanity get stuck in over time. And it's all another layer and dimension to this entire human experience and progressive evolution process that we're all going through, right? It's necessary, but it gets complicated. It gets pretty deep, and if you don't really know too much about spiritual DNA, I would recommend you maybe go online and do a bit of broad spectrum reading about it, so that you maybe have just like a basic understanding around it all, and it might help you connect the dots. It might help connect the dots a little bit more for you in trying, in seeing the bigger perspective as to, the differences between the different, as to why there are maybe certain differences and misalignments in understanding between different generations and collectives of human beings, right? That are of different times. So, and having said that, I know it was very long-winded, but maybe for some, something new and different to think about or talk about with one another. Having said that, where can you find yourself, or maybe take some time to ponder about yourself and recognize where you may be stuck in old traditionalist ways of thinking and being, stuck in finding security in using those old traditionalist or even cultural, or even cultural ways of being the past, using them as a foundation for what you decide that you're going to try and recreate, instead of maybe figuring out where your true alignment is, exclusively from all the things that have been bred forward and taught from the past, and and where your alignment could possibly differ to what is coming after you, whether you have children or don't have children yet. If you take everything that we've just spoken about up to this point in this video and apply it to yourself, apply it to the people, in your thought of it, apply it to the people before, and to the kids who are coming after you, the kids who have come after you or may still be coming after you, and taking into consideration that they all possess a little bit of an adjustment to their own consciousness and their own spiritual DNA that has been, that has come through into this world. So as you progress together, you over time recognize the misalignments and the differences in the way you think and your kids think, or the way you think and the people before you think, right? Where can you kind of have the courage to release the old ways of being, the stereotypes and the opinions that you've aligned yourself to? And, find a way to become a little more secure in yourself, to create something different and something new that, that you could breed forward and find a new idea of happiness compared to what has been programmed into us and, the ones before us, as what would look like and should look like and should feel like happiness and the ultimate dream and correct family, correct career, correct way of being and engaging and existing among one another. I know it might sound a bit crazy and radical, but we are at a point in our lives where we do have to really consider those things, because recreating the past, if we're really honest with ourselves, it's not an easy thing to maintain anymore. They're not easy things to live up to, because the spiritual energy to it all is so far removed. It's so far removed from what has been taught from the past, generations before us, that unconsciously we don't realize how much that misalignment of the way we are today and and to the past, how much of a source of stress unconsciously that also puts onto people, feeling like you're never enough, even though it might not be consciously in your face all the time, but when when you go through your struggles and the result of all the misalignment to what you're trying to recreate and what actually our reality is, and you're trying to box the children up into this old way of thinking that you've been taught is right, that you've been taught is the way, that you've been taught is is how things are supposed to be. It's another layer of stress that can be released, and a step of courage taken to see the reality of our lives today and try and live from our own spiritual energy and heart space, and release what has been programmed into us, and what has been set up as the borders and lines to exist within. I know it's maybe it may be odd, I don't know, but it's something to definitely think about and consider, and something that does require courage, because to a big degree it would mean having the courage to go against the grain and not do what everybody else is trying so hard to just live within and do, because the system and society and the respect we've been programmed to give to the ones who have come before us, going against all of that, the unconscious threat of exclusion, the unconscious threat of being ostracized from your community and being spoken down on and looked at funny. It's all there, hanging, weighing in the background, right down to the whole masculine and feminine programming that has been very system-based, very sexualized, very in many ways on both sides disempowering, and a source of a lot of insecurity in many different forms. Where are you living your life out of the expectations of the past? It's really something to think about, huh? So, and how naturally it also becomes, because the children now, their spiritual DNA has been it's programmed a little differently. Okay, so trying to box them up into those ways and into what we've been taught by school and grandparents and parents and whoever who come from those old ways of being, also for the children it becomes very frustrating, because their own energetic signature and spiritual signature is extremely different, and needs parents and a level of adults to be able to rely on, and to look up to, who are kind of equipped and open to the new way of their being, right? That we're already maybe 2 or 3 generations behind, because I think even millennials, we find ourselves very much under the pressure of trying to live up to the expectations of the baby boomers, who are heavily also influenced still by the generations before them, right? Although they themselves have had a spiritual DNA adjustment before they came in, and a whole lot of other things that were a trigger through them for the changes that we're actually seeing results of today. It's a very big topic, and something maybe in the future I will try and get into, but I've really tried to just keep it as surface level as possible and basic and have it be something that, as I said, you can just casually think about and see maybe where you would like to align yourself differently, and try and take the time to, really recognize where you resonate and what kind of energy you as an individual align to, and how that, how your own personal energy and your difference to the past can be really a beneficial thing for your kids, because you've been programmed, your spiritual DNA was made perfectly for you to be able to look after who comes next. But we find ourselves just so stuck in trying to live up to what we believe the expectations of the past always were. And, it creates a big misalignment. And, by continuing to do that, it will also just be a really big point of frustration for our children coming after us, or the ones who have already arrived, right? Instead, now we end up sending them to psychologists and all kinds of things to try and put them in line and have them behave in ways that, shove them into the box that we've been told, is what's acceptable in society and aligns with all the traditionalist ways of the past, when they're not made to be that way. We're not made to be that way. It's something that has, long ago been meant to, fizzle away, but humans like to hold on to things. Humans don't like change. And sometimes we don't even want to recognize where things are broken and where things are stressful, because we've been groomed and normalized into being comfortable in chaos, into being comfortable in misalignment, and only appeasing what is expected of the outside world, but not actually, learning about our spiritual aspects, our energetic aspects, and finding ourselves in complete alignment all the way into the physical. And, through that breeding forward what would make sense, and having enough trust and courage that if we do breed that forward, it's all divinely aligned and guided, right? And what is meant to happen for the ones after us will happen. There's no need for us to always hang on to the ways of the past that are just filled with a bunch of control and fear, layers of fear that make us want to continue breeding excessive control forward. I hope what I'm saying is making sense, right? Anyway, I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna pull a card from our Trust Your Vibes Oracle deck. Okay, that's what I'm feeling guided to get into, and see what Spirit has to provide as a support to our conversation, or give a nudge to somebody who's watching our video, right? Okay, walk it off. Card is walk it off. Now I'm not getting anything off the cards, so I'm gonna go to the book, okay? Let's see what the book has to say. Number 28. Oh, there we go. I opened up on the page. So it says, you have slipped into energetic stagnation, right? Or stuck in the old way, old energy of being. And your mind is worrying, preventing your vibes from getting through. To interrupt this energy hiccup, suspend your thinking and go for a walk. Higher vibrations flow like the rhythms of nature, so it's important to step out of your mind and into the flow. That's what I was talking about, right? Like, let's get ourselves back, not back, but let's bring ourselves into alignment with what it is we really are. Recognize where we have fear of not being aligned to the old ways and expectations and stereotypes and opinions of the past, right? And of the system. And try and figure out how we're going to start being courageous and comfortable and feel encouraged, to make our decisions from that place. Walk for 15 to 20 minutes, leaving your struggles at home. The movement will reconnect you to the outdoor world, even in the city, and open all energetically closed circuits. As you walk, get back into your heart, where your vibes can be felt. Yes, get into alignment. Walking always raises your vibrations and settles your mind, which is exactly what you need right now. Don't say you don't have time. The time spent not walking and figuring things out is wasted time. As you well know, is wasted time, as you well know. Your guides will walk with you and bring solutions. Open your heart and listen. Yeah. Also, maybe this is a nudge for somebody who's watching the video to, get up from the desk and take some time to breathe. Go get some fresh air. When last were you outside? When last were you in the sun? Are you drinking your water and hydrating? Where can you shake it off? Okay, shake off whatever just doesn't need to be there anymore, and recognize where you're not maybe paying attention to things being a source of frustration and anger, and where they could actually be linked into you holding on to old ways of being, old ways of thinking, old paradigms, and trying to, satisfy the expectations of a personality you've been told to embody and live out, and a life you've been told you need to recreate in order to feel like you're accomplished and like you're something in this world. I'm gonna pull one more card, and this time I'm going to pull from our the Miracle cards by Marianne Williamson, okay? And see what Spirit has to offer us over here as a support to our conversation, or give somebody a nudge in a specific direction, okay? Let's see. May I please have one card, Spirit? Thank you. Personal growth. That's personal growth too, right? Going within and looking at all these things, it grows you, it matures you. And yes, I also understand that when you take the time to do these alignments and you start making the, start being decisive and actioning those decisions and having the courage to go against the grain. People before you, agents of the system, they will not be happy. But it's up to you to, live in what helps you and your family stay in a high vibration, and not live in places of force and frustration, and just constantly trying to align to things that, might not, trying to put pieces that are not a part of the puzzle that you're actually building into spaces that they don't belong. I hope that makes sense, right? Personal growth can be painful because it can make us feel ashamed and humiliated to face our own darkness. And when we say darkness, it's the parts of ourselves that we don't like to look at, the parts that we shove away into darkness, and the areas that are unknown. But our spiritual goal is the journey out of fear-based, painful mental habit patterns, ways of the past, to those of love and peace. So that was nice. I think it aligned nicely too, right? Anyway, family, I hope this has resonated, and I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye.